And welcome back to Toffee TV USA. James here, joined as always by my co-host Ryan, and we are here with a very special episode. Last week, of course, Everton were stateside in Orlando, Florida, and Ryan and I were fortunate enough to make the trek down to see the Toffees play live, not once, but twice, and a bunch of other really cool events that took place throughout the week. So we're going to give you guys a little bit of a recap. If you haven't already, definitely go check out the video the club put out on the USA trip. You get all sorts of behind the scenes and training and a lot of good content that was created by the club this week. But we wanted to create something a little supplemental on top of that to give you the fan experience.
Yeah, we'll give you the authentic trip in Florida experience or something like that. I don't know. So part of the problem was for us was that we were both planning on arriving on Sunday. So we missed kind of the Saturday night event, which looked pretty fun. And we each kind of found our own way to Orlando, but we did make it. So I had driven all the way down to South Carolina from outside of DC the day before. And got up bright and early and jumped in the car with my 11-year-old son, Max, who was absolutely fired up. And I cut this video right when we were leaving Hilton Head Island, South Carolina, which is a tough place to leave, but I'm glad we did it. So we'll cue that video and then we'll talk about Hum as a slightly different logistical trip.
Yeah, indeed. Very different. But let's start with Ryan.
Okay, we're at a red light. I'm doing nothing illegal. I got Max in the back. There he is. Oh, now it's turning green. We're going to hopefully pick up Mr. Boyman and his girl at the airport. Got like 5 hours. We're leaving the palatial Hilton Head Island now. It's tough to leave it, but we're on our way.
So that was Ryan departing, whereas if you and Max really stole the show throughout. You'll see throughout the slideshow he was
yeah, he did.
The star, whereas this is my girlfriend Marissa and I on a 3 a.m. bus. We took a bus from Portland, Maine down to the Boston airport where we flew direct to Orlando, Florida. We got up at 2:30 a.m. to catch a 3:15 bus for a 7 a.m. flight. So it was, needless to say, and this is Sunday, so needless to say, it was a very long day, but we eventually made it to the airport. Ryan picked us up kindly from the airport and we stopped, got some food, some drinks, and we were off to Camping World Stadium for the tailgate. And what an event it was.
Yeah, and so here we are. We've got the banner flying. I brought a canopy tent. I don't know how I fit all this stuff in my car, but canopy tent, cooler, really straight to the stadium, honestly, from the airport. And while we had our own setup, it was really a massive kind of Everton setup. The club did a nice job of kind of helping establish certain places. There was a whole slew of tents in kind of the one side of the tailgating area. There was some food, there was drinks to be had everywhere. So the slide kind of on the one side, you see it. You saw it had these kind of high top tables, white tents. And I think the coolest part about it was all the Everton supporters that we've been communicating with mostly through social media chains, the occasional kind of video conference, during COVID and stuff, to see everyone in person, especially some of the guys from our Discord server too, that were just absolutely great guys, huge Evertonians. It just made for a really, really neat event. And it was very well structured. Lots of handouts, flags, scarves, all sorts of stuff. It was fantastic. It was just a lot of fun and people were just really stoked to be there.
Yeah, really well executed by the club. And I think it was the Orlando Toffees group who mostly orchestrated a lot of the tailgate events. And it was hot. It was scorching hot. It was probably like 90 degrees, but we had some shade. We had some cold drinks. And we had a great group together. And there must have been a few hundred at least just at the tailgate and more trickling in. And I think by the time the match started, numbers of Evertonians were close to the thousands. It must have been.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, so on the other slide, you can kind of see our setup. There's a bunch of people there. A lot of these people are, people that we interact with quite a lot anyway on the Discord server. But right in the middle, you got Tony Sampson, and Tony really deserves a ton of credit from the International Fans Forum, and his kids are in there too. A lot of praise for him because I know he worked with not just the Orlando Toffee group, but a bunch of the West Coast Toffee guys as well. And it's amazing the orchestration that went into this and how well organized it was and the messaging that happened throughout. So I really like that photo. It just kind of gives a vibe of what was going on. A bunch of people in Everton gear hanging out and, drinks flowing. And yes, it was hot, but we still had a great time. And people were literally playing what we call soccer over here, like out in the 90+ degree heat. I thought they were insane, but they were doing it. And if we flip the next slides too, you'll see James got in there with a member of the Colombian contingent. They were out in force too, the Millonarios groups. They were having a blast, shooting off fireworks, all sorts of stuff. They were having a great time. And eventually, none other than Tim Howard did show up. I mean, I'm sure you've seen video of that. Jurgen Meinke had that kind of setup, and he came out there with him, I believe. Darren Griffiths was there to kind of do an interview with him, and immediately people swarmed him. That's Max on my shoulder. He's kind of looking over the crowd, waving at Tim. He signed his hat. I mean, Tim Howard, unbelievable how he was all week, but it was exciting to see him, and he was sporting just that killer all black Everton like polo. Oh my God, the gear is on display, man.
The gear is incredible. And yeah, so Tim, I mean, he was a busy guy the entire week, basically doing stuff for the club, but he did a great pre-match. He was super gracious with his time, and you'll see a little bit later, we eventually got to meet and speak briefly with him. But that was around 4 p.m. And then everyone started filing into the stadium. And of course, if you missed the match, it was perhaps not the most exciting, but obviously Everton fell behind in the first half before equalizing through penalty, and then the endless PK shootout, which we were fortunate enough to catch the end of. We got some footage there, but there's just some quick pics of Ryan and Max with his endless facial expressions in the stadium, and then my girlfriend Marissa and I outside.
But you'll see, I mean, all the Evertonians are sitting together making all sorts of noise. Hopefully on the TV it came through all the chanting. I think it was akin to what you would get, for the most part at Goodison. So we tried to represent as best as we could. And you kind of get a view from these slides of what it looked like. It's a big stadium. I mean, it's, the old Florida Citrus Bowl. I think it seats probably 70,000 people, and you kind of see in the background there. And it was just a big festive atmosphere, really. I mean, that's the best way to describe it. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah, and especially considering, obviously, Inter Milan and Arsenal had dropped out just a few days prior. You see that they had about half the stadium blocked off. But it was still very full, and a ton of James jerseys, a ton of Everton blue, a ton of Millonarios blue as well. But yeah, that was right before kickoff. And then obviously the match, we ended up catching the final PK on video. So we'll just give you guys a little bit of taste of that. And so that was the conclusion of the Florida Cup. We didn't, unfortunately, get too many pictures of the trophy ceremony, but it was obviously exciting to see Everton win silverware of some sort, even if it was a little bit by default. It was a hard-fought penalty shootout and a good result, ultimately, against a side that's in pretty much mid-season fitness, at least. So you could tell the players, especially in the first half, were struggling with the heat.
Yeah, it was hot. I mean, look, it's the Florida Cup. I mean, some of that was us kind of exaggerating,
of course,
excited, yeah. but we're having a lot of fun, and that's really what it was. And we went back out post-match and continued on with the consumption, I guess, for lack of a better term. And it was just fun. It was just a really good time. Everyone was really in good spirits, and yeah, I mean, that's all you can really say. It was a long day, though, for sure. I mean, when you start tailgating at 1:30 or so and go all the way into, the hours of the night, basically. I know it was a long day, and for you guys to get up that early, but it does show a little bit of dedication. Everyone really represented it. It was a lot of fun, and man, we did crash pretty hard that night for sure.
Yeah, most definitely got some good sleep that night. And then the next night we had, of course, the club had put together a big event, a Q&A with several prominent Evertonians. We had the official, I guess, stateside release of the new book, Toffee Soccer, which you can see on the right-hand side there. And they had the author David France, Dr. Everton, as he is known, on there with Darren Griffiths to speak. They had plenty of other people to speak, and it was a really cool night just to kind of formalize the, I guess, American Everton connection and really speak to specifically, I think, American Evertonians and speak to us quite well.
Yeah, they just rotated through speakers. Darren did a really nice job emceeing the whole thing. Graham Stewart was great.
Yep.
Obviously he was, recent history of Everton. He had a really important part in it. David France is unbelievable. You know what I mean? I mean, he could have gotten up there and spoke for hours. The book is, things like 6 pounds.
Yeah,
when we walked in, we got there a little early, and his wife was pulling a box out of the car. We're offering to help her, and she's having none of it. Only then did I realize what a feat of strength that truly was. She's an absolute peach. We really enjoyed talking to her. Yeah, David literally could have spoken the whole time. His stories about Brian LeBone and taking care of older players was completely inspirational. He gave the hint about how much he paid for the most he ever paid for a single artifact. And it's a hysterical story with his wife mocking him for buying a game-worn jersey that it must have been raining and bled into the shorts, and how much he paid for it, which I won't mention, but the number, it's a big number. But no, it was really inspiring, and it was neat to see kind of storytelling tradition continued. We got to meet him too, and he was every bit as charming in person. And then Tim Howard went on, and what can you say about Tim Howard?
Oh, the Tim interview was phenomenal. He probably spoke for 45 minutes, close to, maybe longer.
Yeah.
They had a bunch of questions teed up for him and took some audience questions at the end. And again, just couldn't have been more gracious with his time. At that point, he had been doing Everton related, I guess, promotion and media stuff basically since like 7 that morning. So finished around 9, basically 14 straight hours. But he couldn't have been more authentic or genuine, talking about his love for the club and how much he truly enjoys interacting with fans, and how much, of course, it means to him when an American fan comes up and says, I'm a Blue because of your contribution. And it was just really interesting and insightful to hear from him. As always, he just represents the club so incredibly well.
Yeah, I gave a pretty genuine take that we're going to cue up the video on in a bit, which is right after it. And I was pretty exhausted to do it, but I definitely want to hear your take as well. And God, I love that photo right there. You know, that's me. And again, Max stealing the show front and center. And I think Tim Howard is actually a little taller. He's hunching down a little bit to make me look that much taller than him. I may have him by an inch or so, but don't let that fool you. Just look at that guy. That's after 14 hours. He looks like he's,
fresh and ready to go.
Right. So I want to hear your take real quick before we kind of go to my video, at least.
I think your video speaks to it really well, but it was truly, I think, a really special night to bring together and talk about the club that we all love and unified around the previous day, but to do it in a setting where it's more of like a Q&A type session where people are telling stories and illustrating the incredible history of the club, and especially the ties with North America, which I haven't gotten too far in the Toffee Soccer book yet, but as Ryan said, it's huge. It's like 600 pages and really just drives home the deep links between this club and this continent. And every speaker did incredibly well. Ryan, you said it in the video, Tony and Jürgen Manka went up and spoke for a while about how the club plans to sort of expand and build their presence in the United States and North America. And I think they have a really good kind of framework built out to do so. And it seems like Jürgen and I guess the entire initiative of growing the club in this geography is in really good hands. So I thought it was amazing. I think everyone there was probably blown away by the storytelling and just the passion that was kind of exuded by everyone on stage and everyone that was in attendance as well.
Yeah, it was inspirational. We went decompressed after the evening. It was really something, and had a couple drinks afterwards, and we just almost had to, and it just spurned conversation. And you can see the video, I'll without further ado, I think I expressed myself decently well.
Yeah, let's get into it right now.
It's emotional, man.
Gentlemen at Toffee TV, this is Ryan Williams from the American Toffee podcast, and my son Max, who's 11. You guys have seen from him already. Tonight was amazing. I don't think I've had
God help us
a better night, as kind of an Everton person. David French is brilliant. Grant Stewart was brilliant too. David French is unbelievable though. I mean, the storytelling, it's just clearly a tradition that's passed on through time, and I think my son was even just amazed at how funny and interesting he was.
He puts a lot of darn emphasis into the storytelling part.
He was really good. Darren Griffiths even asked him, what's the most you've spent on a single item?
78,000.
78,000 pounds in a single jersey. He said there was a collection of stuff, but that's really what it was. Yeah. I met his wife too, who's brilliant and very supportive and great. Tony Sampson was unbelievable tonight, guys. Like, unbelievable. He was on point, running the show when he needed to. He speaks off the cuff so well. Yep. He represented us so incredibly well. He's done such a good job organizing it. A lot of the West Coast guys have been too, and the Orlando folks. It was very well run. It was very interesting to hear from Jurgen too, and kind of his idea and viewpoint in terms of the business orientation of the club and building the international membership and how to do it in the right way. I think he was pretty true to the club. And then Timmy Howard, and we got to go backstage and we did. We sat down with him and asked him some stuff. But the thing that was amazing about it, it wasn't.
Pretty awesome.
You think so?
Except that when we took a picture, I stood in front of the two tallest people in the room. Apparently, that's how life treats you.
You'll grow one day, buddy. But I think what's most important about Tim Howard that I was impressed with is I knew he'd been up earlier to do like the soccer golf thing, and the fact that he even gave us any time at all. And basically his promise was, hey, just give me until 9 p.m. and then let me be. I mean, that's ridiculous if you think about it. That's a 14-hour time commitment basically today, and the fact that he would sit down with us and answer questions. And we had a great conversation. We had a great opportunity to talk about the New Jersey Center for Tourette Syndrome. And Faith Rice, who's someone that passed away, I think in March, who everyone should know. Tim has clearly just adored this person. She was passionate and tough, and I think she was the one that really came up with the ideas, Tim being kind of the person that helped her spearhead it, setting up this center. And I mean, they have trained, I think it was last time I looked, like 28,000 educators, I think. It was over 40,000 people in general, like 100 psychologists on how to deal with Tourette syndrome and some of the things that are associated with it. So this is a guy that owns it, and talks about it. David French today talked a lot about commitment to one's community, and Tim Howard really owns that. The stories were great. The presentation was great. Everything was super about it, but that's really what we took from the night. And other than that, he really liked James Boyman's shoe game, which I gotta admit, he's got some pretty slick pair of Nikes on. They're pretty solid, and he didn't ruin them at the tailgate. I don't know how.
Either way, everybody, pretty magical visit there.
Yeah, you're pretty excited, huh? Right?
100%. It was awesome meeting Tim.
Yep. That's from an 11-year-old, man. So it was really neat. But I think most importantly, too, thanks to the club, but also thanks to Tony Sampson. I mean, he really was instrumental behind all of it. And his Toffee Fest USA has finally occurred, and I really think what's going to be exciting is when we get all the UK folks over, too. That's going to be pretty awesome. So, all right, signing off for now. We'll try and put these things all together and see what we make with it. But hope you guys appreciated it. Bye.
Yeah, I think you summed it up really well there, Ryan. I think it was after so long for the club having been unable to come across or haven't come to America for so long, and then to come on the back of a pandemic and everyone able to get together, and the fan base in North America has grown so much over the last 8 or 9 years that it was just incredible to see it sort of materialize in front of you. And like, you see it online and you interact with people in Liverpool and stateside, but then to bring everyone together, it was really special. And of course, this event was also pretty amazing, as you said.
Yeah, a lot of it's on David France too. I mean, he's the one
Yeah.
that's kind of doing. I don't know why I was calling him French in the video, for heaven's sakes. But I went back and forth on that a couple of times. Frustrating. Part of it's my Pittsburghese, or at least that's what I blame it on. But now David stole the show too. That's the amazing part. How do you steal the show with Tim Howard being
I
there?
know.
But let me tell you what, man. I strongly recommend Tim Howard's book, The Keeper, is really good, and Faith Rice is an important person in his life, and I can't say enough. Go check out the New Jersey Center for Tourette's Syndrome. It's a really interesting place, and it's amazing how quickly you can learn stuff about it as well. And then Tuesday, July 27th, we had a free day. I did a bunch of work in the morning. I have no idea how you and Ressa managed to get up early and go to Universal, but you guys hit it, did the rides. It was another hot day, but we definitely had a lot of fun.
Yeah, it was a good day. It was, again, a very packed day. Yeah, Marissa and I got up at probably like 7:30, made our way to Universal, to Harry Potter World. We saw both of them and had a very full day. That had been something I'd wanted to do for almost a decade now. So it was another thing to check off the list in addition to all the amazing Everton stuff. And it was good to kind of have a free day. It would have been nice to also have some Everton stuff going on, but it was good to get a little bit of a break before we ramped up for Wednesday, which was, I think, kind of the crescendo as things sort of started to unwind. And we had the second match day, of course.
Not that Tuesday was without Everton encounters.
No,
too. I mean, the jerseys are still out. You still ran into people. It was kind of funny. It was like Everton taking over. I mean, I literally ran into Tony Sampson's family when a huge storm came through, and had a couple beverages out on the patio of the NBC Sports Zone with them. But yeah, I mean, honestly, I think we crashed early enough to get up and at 'em on Wednesday, because it was game day again. But before we got to game day, thank you so much, Tony Sampson, for suckering us into the Everton supporters match, which is hysterical because, I mean, I didn't have shoes. James didn't either. We were so concerned. We're like, we're going to play outside in like 90-degree heat. We're putting on sunscreen before the match. And sure enough, we get there and it's indoors.
Thank God.
Thank God. I'll tell you what, though, it was really fun. Other than the massive bruise I still have on my leg. Thanks. James and I were anchoring the blue team's defense. There we are in there. If I'm not smiling, I apologize. It's because I was dying of thirst and sweat, and I wanted to take the stupid picture. But it was cool. I'm sure you've seen the videos. We come out to Z Cars, and I know Max is really excited. There were a couple funny moments where the first time Max got the ball, I literally chucked him into the netting.
I wish we had that on video.
I know. I nailed him a couple times. Just never. I hope everyone realized. I think they did. That was my kid. I don't just normally run over 11-year-olds. But it was fun. I mean, I'm glad we got the work in too. You could see all the kits and stuff. It was cool, man. There's no other better way to bond than just kind of kicking the ball around with people. Let me tell you what, future Evertonians in America, the kids that were playing in that match.
Oh, I mean, there was some skill on display.
Georgie's kid played. He was nasty. And Tony's youngest too, man. He was balling as well. It was impressive.
Yeah. And it was a packed pitch. We were playing like 12 on 12, 11 on 11 on like a half size, maybe even less than that pitch. So you didn't have a whole lot of time on the ball. I was a little rusty. Haven't played any footy in several years. Didn't have the most ideal gear, but you can see, I mean, my shirt was like drenched like during the warm up. So it was still, even though we were indoors out of direct sunlight, the Florida humidity is no joke. People were definitely feeling it, but all in all, it was a really fun way to kick off the last day. This was played around noon, and then we all went back, showered, and got ready to head to tailgate number 2. And this is just definitely less formal, not quite as structured, and not as big a turnout, obviously, with it being midweek. But we still had a good group of Evertonians there, and we, of course, had the tent set up yet again.
Yeah, it was fun. It was informal, but really everyone kind of ended up in the same place, and it was kind of a lot of the same cast of characters, So throughout the whole week, I mean, really had a chance to interact with quite a few people from different groups. So if it was someone that you missed, that you hadn't met the first day or so, had a chance to kind of engage with them this time. And I mean, we're talking about Toffee groups all over the country. I mean, really, spread completely out. It's amazing how many different people we had and how many states were represented, which goes to show you how far we've come kind of in terms of generating buzz as a club. And I think if what we saw, considering how spontaneous it was in many ways with people dropping out and stuff, I mean, I thought it was a pretty good indication what the future is, and it's bright for North American Toffees for sure.
Yes, most definitely. And it was just really cool to interact with people, whether they had ever listened to the show before or not, but to listen, talk to people who had listened to the show, the American Toffee Pod, obviously for years or for months or whatever, and just to, interact with them and meet them face to face, people from the Discord. It was just a really, really cool experience. And then we've got the picture of us. We didn't sit at the end for match day number 2. We got pretty good seats, actually, right around the midfield line. And we observed Everton in action against Pumas, which was, I think, maybe a better overall match, Ryan. Not sure what you think, but we got our pre-match predictions here. Quick video for you guys that we'll run.
All right, Max. Florida Cup, match day number 2. Pumas. What's your score prediction?
2-1 Everton.
2-1 Everton. I like the score prediction. I'm going to go 1-0 Everton, personally. What do you think?
I am also going to actually go 1-0 Everton.
1-0 Everton, 2-1. It's looking, teams are about to come out. We got a decent crowd. It's not quite day 1 status, but we'll make some noise. Get the boys to a victory. Up the Toffees.
So that was pre-match. Correct score prediction. I want to add 2 correct score predictions for the 1-0 on the again, relatively uneventful, but saw some good stuff. And most importantly, Ryan, we got to see the third kit debut.
Oh my God. It's when I saw the debut video, I thought it looks kind of nice, but I wasn't sure. And then you see it up close, and then you see it with the shorts and the socks. And it looks so good. It was fantastic. And if you were watching on TV overseas, at the very beginning of the match on kickoff, I mean, and I think if we flip forward to the slides, you can kind of see exactly where we're sitting, I think.
Yep.
Let's see. Cute. There you go. I mean, we were right over by Seamus, and I mean, the 60 grand chant was in full force immediately. That was absolutely us. Josh, one of the members of our party, was making sure that we were screaming in Seamus's way the whole time, which I think he appreciated. Yeah, it was great. And I mean, the Colombians were all around us too. That was fun. Millionaires played Nacional in the match afterwards. They were having a great time. That first half was nuts. But the Everton match, it was funny to watch it from here because as Rafa did some interesting tactical things. He even played a 4-3-3, which is very interesting in the second half with Bamin, Decore, and Alon, with Alon being the deeper out of the 3 midfielders. I thought that was really interesting. James tucking inside. And it was a better performance. That Pumas team, their season just kind of started. But they came out in the first half. They played all their starters for the most part too. So, it wasn't like they were playing kind of a weak side. And we did concede a little bit of possession, but in the second half we were completely dominant. And it was interesting to see us just physically overpower them with that midfield. But again, I mean, it was just a fun environment. It's just a total blast. You know what I mean? Everyone was really happy to be there. No conflict. Everyone was just completely stoked to be watching the Toffees. And yeah, I mean, there's not really much you could say about it too. It was a really fun night.
Yeah, it was a great evening in much better weather than on Sunday. I would also like to add, we had a little cloud cover, pretty pleasant temperature, and it was, and honestly, better seats, not quite the atmosphere, but a really good time and just great to see everyone get out and honestly get out with no injuries and to see them perform pretty well against a decent Pumas side. I mean, that's a good Mexican team, Liga MX team, and I think the boys did a good job given the amount of rotation and lineup changes that took place. So to get out of Florida with 2 wins hopefully boosts the confidence as the team prepares. Of course, just 1 preseason match left before we kick the season off, so it's going to be very interesting. And this was, of course, we had a double header for match day number 2. The Nacional fans and the Millonarios fans had some boisterous fan sections at either end, and
tifo, smoke bombs, they had it all.
It was crazy, and they also had 5 first half goals to celebrate. So it was quite the atmosphere, despite the maybe what looks like not that many people. It was loud in there, no question about it.
Yeah, for the amount of people, it definitely was a passionate bunch.
Yeah.
But look, I mean, it was fantastic. And then, I mean, that was a long day again. I was physically sore, for heaven's sakes, from playing the match. And we kind of wrapped it up. And James had a little more difficulty getting home than maybe I did. But, we packed it all up, and Thursday morning we were gone. And it was just a fantastic trip. So your overall thoughts on the trip and how you kind of feel about it looking back on it now? Obviously, as you could tell, I'm still technically on vacation. I'm not in the studio. So I've been taking it very easy, other than being very sore from jet skiing earlier with an 11-year-old on my back. But yeah, I kind of want to get your general impressions on the week.
Yeah, it was a really special week. Obviously, my most recent vacation before this was to go overseas to see Goodison Park and see Everton play live in person for the very first time. And this was very similar in how it just felt very monumental and special. And I think just to bring together specifically North American Toffees as a group I just think it was so crucial for what the club want to do going forward. And I think if they were ever at all hesitant about the amount of support that they would be shown, or the amount of dedication that the North American Toffees have, I think that was that call was answered and then some, because it's clearly an incredibly passionate group, and honestly just a bunch of amazing people. Like, everyone was very cool, everyone was very friendly, everyone loved to talk about Everton and who we're going to sign in the window and who needs to go. And it's always just great, because I think so many of us don't interact necessarily with Evertonians on a regular basis, to get everyone together and to see so many people and know that it was their first time ever seeing Everton in person. I can only imagine like what an amazing experience and how fortunate they feel. And I feel so incredibly fortunate to have been able to make the trip, for all the people that we met, for all the connections that we made, and just for the implications for the long term for this fan base and this continent. I think it's unbelievably promising.
It's community building for sure. I was really impressed at just the quality of the individuals that you met with and talked to.
Yeah.
And not just being informed and understanding the club, but like, you could tell there were common values with so many people, and they were so happy to be around anyone that just had the scarf on, you know what I mean? Or had the colors on. It was brilliant. It was a lot of fun. And James and I both obviously have the opportunity to have gone overseas and seen matches at Goodison and been around that area. And so many of them have not had that opportunity, and first of all, it's not cheap. It's a big part of it, not everyone has the chance to take time off and stuff. And the fact that some people just flew in for the first game of the weekend. Like, some of the stories are insane, what people did to just get there. And I just think it's a massive step forward towards truly building that community in North America around Everton. So bravo, everyone. Look, there were little things that we can nitpick about the darn experience, but for the most part, our experience was, it was a blast. And I cannot wait for our UK brethren to come over the next time we do a tour, just as an excuse to visit the States.
Yeah.
I know some guys have never gone tailgating before. Tony Sampson was telling us, I've never been tailgating. I'm like, what are you talking about, man? He's like, no, I just don't think I've done it. It's not that big a concept, really. But
he was a natural. He was a natural at it. For sure.
Yeah, it was real hard. Yeah, real hard. You had to run around like a maniac trying to organize stuff and sneak in a couple beers, when in the sun. Who doesn't want to do that? But yeah, it was a blast. James said I had a great time. It
our
was
first time meeting Ryan face to face, and we spent 4 days together in an Airbnb. So it was
pretty fun.
It was great. It was a total blast. And Jurgen, I think, alluded to this during the Q&A thing, but I think it really just kind of end note. It says so much that this many people are this passionate about a club who we all love, but hasn't won a great deal in the last 26 years. And it says so much that, like, if this is the floor for Everton's fan base, this thing is like a rocket ship ready to take off. No question.
Look, it goes to show you, when the North American Toffees get behind you, you win stuff.
Exactly.
The Florida Cup, man.
That's what we need.
That's right. That's exactly right. But yeah, honestly, fantastic. Feel free to ping us with any questions or any ideas. And, we're really happy to meet everyone out there. We hope other people watching this video, get excited too. If you want to know more about the fan base and what we got going on, we're going to continue to do that through the American Toffee Podcast and Toffee TV USA. We're thrilled to be the representatives of Toffee TV over here in the States, and we'll continue to try and bring you content like this too. So we've got some other stuff behind the scenes. We may release it, but I don't know, maybe not. We'll see. But this was fun doing, and I hope you guys enjoyed as much as we enjoyed doing it.
Absolutely. It was great to look back on what was a very special week that will live long in the memory, and appreciate you all joining us to relive it with us. But without further ado, and appreciate everyone listening. If you could like this video, leave a comment. If you have any questions, any thoughts on the content, definitely let us know. Check out our American Toffee podcast. We just did a massive squad assessment for the prior season. Check out our other Toffee TV USA videos. Of course, we just dropped one recently on Rafa Benitez's appointment. Going to be getting some stuff out here shortly on the transfer window as well. If you're not subscribed to Toffee TV already, get on that. What the heck are you doing? Otherwise, we'll be with you next time. And until then, up the Toffees.